I think it's an important note when we go into prayer. There are people out there who will tell you that because you support this very important right, that you're intolerant. The fact is our Constitution, which is the foundation of our country, gives us the right to religion. The Second Amendment protects that right. We as supporters of the Second Amendment are supporting the right of religions, all religions, as they are founded to have protection under the Constitution. With that being said, Susan's coming back up.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Skip. I had prepared some remarks for today, talking about, you know, the wonders of liberty, the wonders of freedom, the wonders of free assembly. But I spent a couple of days this last week at the State House, and in a couple of hearings in particular, and what I realized this week was that the good legislators that we have here on the grounds today, our state senators, our state representatives, executive counselors, are people that we get a chance to choose, people that we elect, and who are accountable to us as citizens and as voters and as the people who love and live in New Hampshire. But on this past Thursday, in the House Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee, there was a hearing on House Bill 582, which we call constitutional carry, which would have very simply made optional the existing pistol and revolver license in the state of New Hampshire. You could have it if you wanted for reciprocity. It extended it for a year, and it did a couple of other things. But basically, it turned New Hampshire from a Mother May I state to a full Second Amendment rights state. But one of the folks who testified, there were many of us there, but there was one fellow in particular, a Sergeant Haggerty from the New Hampshire State Police. And he had testified in the Senate, but he stood up and he basically said that it was really kind of a bad idea and the state really didn't like it, and it was going to cost money, and people that shouldn't have guns might have. But what I learned afterwards was that the position paper that was submitted to our legislators, the people we elect, and was written by, we believe, former retired Assistant Commissioner Earl Sweeney, now paid consultant to the State Department of Safety. He gave them a 4-page letter, and I have to read some of this to you because I am beyond outraged. I think I've probably, this has pushed me over a line in terms of how I think about the way the state views us. Not just me, but any of you out here. They're so far removed from us. They are not elected, they are appointed, they are employees, and they are paid with our tax dollars. So bear with me for just a moment. This is written over the name of John Barthelmess, who's the Commissioner of the State of New Hampshire, Department of Public Safety. House Bill 582, repealing the license requirement for carrying a concealed pistol or revolver. Position, opposed. Dear members of the committee, he says, well, you know, the bill supposedly just makes a couple of minor changes. He says nothing could be farther from the truth. Talks about the fact that the state's going to lose money, but he says some things here that shocked me. New Hampshire law has always given an issuing agent the discretion to refuse to issue a license to someone who's not considered, quote, a proper person. A proper person. I want you to hold that in your mind. To carry a loaded, concealed firearm. This has been used as a benchmark for many years in issuing licenses and defending the decision in court. Under present law, if a license is denied, you can go to Superior Court, which means you're guilty until you're proven innocent. The bill removes historical discretion from the chief of police or other issuing agent. A license can only be denied if you're not a proper person. There are very few instances where the statute prohibits owning or possessing a firearm. Primarily those are for convicted felons or being subject to domestic violence or stalking, restraining order, blah, blah, blah. So to the extent extent that anyone will even apply for a license should House Bill 582 pass, the responsibility of issuing it might as well be given to a clerk. To a clerk. Now, any clerks out here, please do not be offended because I want you to know who's talking about you. Though the chief of police will be signing it, the chief will just be doing a mechanical function, no matter how unsuitable he or she believes the applicant to be. Not whether or not they're lawful, law-abiding citizens. How unsuitable he or she believes the applicant to be. It will require licensing of known drug abusers, someone with mental health problems, anyone under the age of 18. This is so beyond the pale. They did not make this letter public. They handed it to the legislatures at the committee. By the grace of God, we had a friendly rep who gave us a copy of this after he'd called out some of the language. Please bear with me. In this letter, the Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety says, there are just a few of the problems we see with this dangerous bill. We live in a different society today than we did years ago when New Hampshire was a quiet rural state. I thought New Hampshire was still a quiet rural state. Every night, the E911 system logs anywhere from 2 to 10 shots fired calls for a police response. Some of them are drug-fueled shootings or road rage incidents, but more often, just a case in a residential neighborhood where someone late at night stands at their back door and fires multiple shots from a pistol. Likewise, almost every week there are 911 calls where someone decides in the wee hours of the morning to clean his or her gun, again, often while drunk or high on drugs, and shoots himself in the stomach or leg, or cranks one off into the floor that goes to the floor into the apartment below because the shooter never had any training at all. Is this New Hampshire? Does anybody know the New Hampshire about which the Department of Safety Commissioner is speaking? They go on to close. It says here that if 582 were to pass, gun owners have, as they should have, they always say they support the Second Amendment, largely unfettered rights to possess firearms unless they have a criminal history, an uncontrollable temper, or otherwise mentally unstable. Almost anyone can legally purchase a firearm, strap it on, and bring it into most any shopping mall or other public place. They go on to this alarming language to legislators. He closes by saying, certainly, gang members and drug dealers from south of the border will come to regard the streets in our cities and towns as free fire zones. Free fire zones. Police officers approaching vehicles at traffic stops will lose whatever momentary advantage they may have that someone in the vehicle is reaching for a gun. Tourist families, for God's sake, tourist families who are already in fear of guns because of the daily drumbeat of incidents on the news may hesitate to come to a tourist destination that they regard as a return to the Wild West. And never forget, we will be creating another hole in the budget. Is this what the majority of people in New Hampshire really want? We think not. I've been called a lot of things in my life, and I've had a lot of people get in my face and not like what I say or what I believe. But anyone who was an employee of mine and talked to me that way would be fired. The Department of Safety in the state of New Hampshire believes that those of us here who are law-abiding citizens, who come out to exercise our rights, are basically criminals. That we get drunk in the middle of the night, that we take drugs, that we fire off a round in the house, that we strap it on and go into, oh my God, the Barley House and scare people to death. This is what our employees at the New Hampshire Department of Safety think about us. And this is what they gave to the legislature, asking the legislature to deny us constitutional carry. If anybody else has a problem with that, besides me, there's some obnoxious green cards down here. If you will sign one of those, I will hand carry them and deliver them, not only to the Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety, but to legislators throughout this state. I'm tired of being insulted. I'm tired of being called a criminal. I've had it. I'm done. Please join me in being done.
Crop TV.